Okay, so I recently did some project related to PCI-DSS. So I mean, I decided to share this information while it's still fresh in my mind. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so what is PCI DSS compliance, right? So I'll just quickly go one by one. So it's a data security standard for the payment card industry. That is the credit card or any debit card or that industry, right? And it is maintained by the PCI Security Standards Council. PCI SSC. So you can go check their website also. And so it's mandatory for any business, regardless of size or transaction volume, that stores, processes, or transmit card holder data, right? So anybody that handles card holder data, this applies to them. Okay, so this standard has 12 key requirements, right? And those are related to to building a secure network and protecting cardholder data, maintaining a vulnerability management program, which means looking for vulnerability and then patching those vulnerability, and implementing a strong access control measure, which means need to know least privilege access and all that. So depending on the transaction volume, business may need to submit a self-assessment questionnaire. So if it's higher volume, they would need to submit a questionnaire or a report of compliance from a qualified security assessor. Okay. And failure to comply can result in significant financial penalties and reputation damage, making it critical security, financial, and legal obligation for business. Okay, so it's a mandatory requirement for anybody that handles card data. Okay, moving on. Okay, so those 12 requirements are basically can be characterized into 6 goals. So build and maintain a secure network, protect card holder data, maintain vulnerability management program, implement strong access control measures, regularly monitor and test network, and maintain an information security policy. So if PCI-DSS policy procedure achieve these goals, right? If these goals are achieved, then payment card transaction environment is compliant. Now, so requirement 1 is install and maintain a firewall configuration to protect cardholder data, right? So it basically just means that the data needs to be protected, and so there should be at least a firewall and restrict access from untrusted traffic. So, and the security rules should be reviewed regularly. Proper configuration of firewall as well as router if applicable, right? So, which means that the configuration for both a firewall and router could have like an ACL if the router is there, right? Access control list. So established firewall and router standards, which allow for standardized testing of equipment whenever hardware or software changes are made. Yeah, so this is requirement number 1. So basically, there must be at least a firewall to protect for untrusted traffic. Okay, and the next requirement is do not supply user vendor supply defaults for system password or other security parameters. Right, so this is not a difficult compliance requirement because well, basically what it says is that when a new router or firewall or IPS device or something that gets shipped, right? Even your home router, right? It has a default password, username and password, right? So some people might be lazy and then just keep the password and username as it is, right? But this is not, which is obviously not a good practice. And so PCI DSS requires that since it's a simple exploit available, right? So such default password or security parameters are not permissible as per this requirement. So those parameters must be changed before the new interfaces with the established system. So before they can connect to the PCI DSS network, these parameters, so maybe the username can be changed and the password can also be changed. Like username will stay, but you don't have to use it. You can change the password and then create a separate username for day-to-day work, right? Okay, next requirement 3. Okay, so this one is protect cardholder data. Okay, so it says protect stored cardholder data, right? So the cardholder, the credit card or a debit card information, and the name and everything, right? So this says to protect that information, right? So protect cardholder data in order to prevent unauthorized usage. Okay, and cardholder data should never be stored unless required for legal and regulatory business needs. So cardholder data should be stored only if it is required, right? If it's no longer required for legal, regulatory, or business needs, then it should be destroyed, right? Now, data should be encrypted. So even if somebody is able to hack it, get the data or get access to the server, since the data will be encrypted, they will not be able to access it. Limit storage and retention. Yeah, again, so limit the retention period to minimum, right? Depending on, again, the requirement, which could be business, legal, or regulatory. Requirement also includes rules for how primary account number should be displayed. Yeah. So the entire account number should not be displayed, right? It should be only the first 6 or the last 4 digits. First 6 and last 4 digits. Okay, next. Okay, next is encrypt transmission of data across open public networks, right? Yeah, so again, if the information is being transmitted through, let's say, the internet, right? Through like a VPN or something, right? I mean, a VPN should be used if it's being transmitted over the internet, right? So that to prevent any somebody getting into it and stealing the data if it's not encrypted, right? So anyway, it says here cyber criminals can potentially access cardholder data when it's transmitted across public network, right? Encrypting the data prior to transmitting and then decrypting it upon receipt limits the likelihood that thieves can access this data. So the requirement demands strong cryptography and security protocols, and also provide recommendation to protect cardholder data during transmission. So it says to use, like IPsec VPN or SSH or TLS, and necessitates employing latest industry standards. Okay. Okay. So next. Okay, so this one, protect all system against malware and regularly update antivirus or programs, right? So this one is mostly related to the end devices, right? So let me just go through it. So PCI DSS necessitates a proactive and ongoing approach to discover weakness within a payment card system, right? So this is referred to as vulnerability management program. So and applies to all endpoints. So requirement five applies to endpoints, right? Applies to all endpoints within the card holder data environment, protecting against viruses, worms, Trojan, ransomware, and spyware. So the solution that it recommends to deploy anti-malware on all security system affected by malicious software, right? Okay, so next, ensure antivirus and software updated regularly, right? And run regular scheduled scan for malware. So these will be like automated scans. Prevent user from disabling or modifying the antivirus software, right? So this will be the administrator will restrict somebody like a user to modify the antivirus. Maintain up-to-date security policies and operational procedure regarding malware protection. Okay, number 6, develop and maintain secure system and applications. So this one is sort of related to the previous one. So use reputable sources to monitor security vulnerabilities, right? Um, and promptly apply vendor patches and particularly critical ones, right? So this one involves like vulnerability scanning to check if the software is up to date or the and if which could result in, like, if it's a vulnerability, it can be exploited by somebody, right, like hackers and stuff. So um once a vulnerability is found, it should be immediately a patch should be applied if available, right? Generally the vendor will release a patch as soon as possible, right? And again, this one also says that like the developers, they should practice secure coding, right? So they should incorporate security when doing coding of new software and apps, right? So that means they should be using like they should make sure that when access to the software is restricted, right? That should be built in. They should be using uh, third party components which do not have any vulnerability. So these type of training, right? Um, yeah, and there should be a change control mechanism. Like ServiceNow is one way where changes are submitted and then approved by a change management department, right? And this one also says to use a public-facing firewall for protection of applications which are public-facing, right? Okay, they're like such as servers and all that, web servers. Okay, next is requirement 7. So restrict access to cardholder data by business need to know. So this one is again like linked to like identity and access management. So the data should only be restricted to certain authorized personnel, right? Unauthorized access is not simply limited to bad actors. It could be a person may request data that does not need within the context of the current task. So that request should be unauthorized and thus denied. So that means that even if somebody who is, is an authorized personnel, right? If they don't need the access, they should justify why they need the access, right? They can't just be accessing whenever they want, right? So they need to have a justification. So it could be like a privilege access, right? They could check out an ID for this type of privilege access, which that ID will expire after a certain time, right? So need to know is a fundamental concept of PCI-DSS, and an agent may have permission to access certain data in broad sense, but not within a particular scenario, right? An access control system must assess each request not just based on the agent making it, but also the circumstances, and it must then deny any request that is not specifically permitted. Okay. Requirement 8: identify and authenticate access to system components. So this one, yeah, so activity can be traced to known user or at least immediately recognized as unauthorized. Like assign a unique ID to each person and use multi-factor authentication, especially if they are logging in for logging in remotely, then they should and they must use like multi-factor authentication. Yeah, it says here for remote access, two-factor authentication is required. So PCI-DSS recommends technologies such as Radius, TACAC, which use token, meaning you have a password as one factor and a token as another, right? So yeah, so whoever accesses, they need to be there needs to be a way to identify that person, right? And they should log in, you preferably using like two-factor authentication, especially for remote access, which is mandatory. Okay, next. Okay, so the strict physical access to cardholder data. So now this is like the physical, not just like through remote or some. So in inventory device, document all system and devices that store or process, transmit cardholder data, right? And um, maintain all. So this is physically going, like say, into a data center. Maintain a log of all access to sensitive area for at least 3 months. So whoever visits the data center where these cardholder data is placed, like in a data center, the logs must be maintained, like who visited, right? So regularly check devices for tampering, unauthorized modification. So these like physical checking. And safely destroy any physical which are no longer needed. So this is requirement number 9. Now 10. Okay, so track and monitor all access to network resources and cardholder data. Yeah, so this is like sort of like audit trail type. So real-time monitoring and logging as well as for the forensic mechanism. So whoever makes any changes, logs, or does anything, right? There should be a way to like I have a trail. Okay, so the requirement focuses on those underpinnings such as the ability to link all network traffic to a specific user, right? Yeah. So again, if there should be like so automated audit trails are necessary as well as the ability to reconstruct events. So an audit trail and what kind of changes that person made, right? Those should be able to, this is the requirement, part of the requirement number 10. Audit trail must require certain standards in terms of information. Time synchronization is required. Audit data must be secured and such data must be maintained for no. So, the data must not be tampered with, right? So maybe in case some sort of a legal or it's a legal requirement, right? Maybe it needs to be presented to like a court or something, right? So it's important that there's no tampering or anything. So this is requirement number 10, to monitor all access to resources. Okay, 11, and then next is 12, right? So which will be the last one? So regulate test systems and processes. So yeah, so vulnerabilities are regularly introduced. This could be due to a new code that the vendor releases, right? So it's important to perform penetration testing and vulnerability scan regularly. Internal and external vulnerability scans required at least every quarter, and also whenever a significant network change has been made, like for example, new upgrade or something new, a new device or something has been added. Other ongoing requirements include penetration testing as well as use of intrusion and prevention system. So this is the IPS system. Um uh, so which is also used for like it's after the firewall and it's used for like vulnerability scanning and all that. Test each quarter for wireless access points used to gain unauthorized access. Yeah, so if any wireless access points which are used for to access cardholder data, right? Those need to be tested. Okay, file monitoring. So this mechanism can raise an alert whenever a user has modified content, configuration system file in unauthorized manner. So this system should perform file comparison each week. Again, this is like sort of like to have some sort of a trail and um, to have some sort of a tracking, right, where any modification is logged and then can be compared, right, whether it was authorized or unauthorized. Okay, and finally, requirement number 12. Maintain a policy that addresses information. Yeah, so implement and maintain an information security policy for all employees and relevant parties, right? Policy should regularly be reviewed, right? Maybe annually, and challenged and then revised as required. Creating a awareness campaign relevant to information security and screen employees, contractors, and so forth as part of the hiring process to avoid internal data breaching. So yeah, so it's important to screen everybody, right? Uh, Requirement demand that there must be at least one person, perhaps an entire team, who's responsible for these obligations. So maintain a proper security policies and obviously vet all the people that have access to those to the card data. Yeah, so that's it. These are the 12 requirements.